It's the seventh and final day of this quantum memoir Earth cycle. And to see how it relates to OS3, you have to go into this refined sphere. So when you zoom in to that single circle, it brings this up within OS3. It's focused on the mythology, the story behind everything. All you need to know is that in order to respond to everything for today, I am drawing from all of the responses that I did up front related to this. So when a person goes through OS3 in order to create a biomimicry business ecosystem, every 7 days when they're working on a specific task, they'll always be able to tap back into the work they did up front. So this is the upfront work I did with OS3. Going through these 7-day cycles, this is like the 7-day process. This is the 7-day agenda. So that now I know, as far as when I'm recapping the week, ecoSuccession, goal-oriented games, and geodesic seedWater stations, it was really easy for me to come up with that. That's the story that I was telling throughout this week. I started off just knowing that I wanted to create a draft 0.9.0 onboarding frameWorkbook lesson. And I knew I wanted to go through all these different aspects, but I wasn't sure exactly what it was going to turn into. You don't know what it's going to turn into until you're done. So that's where we ended up, and now I'm just going to run through what the actual prompts were for me to get there. So this is like the full page, everything filled in. So with today being the refined sphere within quantum memoir, that means it's refined story for OS3. And that was the more in-depth page that I showed. Groove 6, our journey, that's the coding within Q3 agency. And then story API is just a general way that anyone can look at it without all these weird codings and different ways to talk about it. When it's refined sphere, it's related to the third eye chakra. So I listened to the astral doorway video on that chakra. The quantum memoir prompt was to come up with my own definition for refined story. And I wanted to take note of the fact that the 3 aspects of this sphere within OS3, Groove 6, our journey, is broken down into Groove 6, verse 0 chord, Groove 6, verse 1 mythology, Groove 6, verse 2 spirituality, and Groove 6, verse 3 consciousness. The definition that I came up with is this sphere, it's a cymatic sphere for creating a mythology, for exploring spirituality, and expanding my consciousness. Let me just try that again. For this sphere, it's a cymatic sphere for creating a mythology, for exploring spirituality, and expanding my consciousness. And then the prompt for this is write do-I questions related to mythology, spirituality, and consciousness. In general, if you're going through quantum memoir, all you need to do is create do-I questions, as many as you want. When I'm doing this for OS3, I'm going to be sticking with just the exact terms related to the definition that I created. The questions I came up with are, what ecoSuccession mythology do I want to tell to onboard a strong community? And the geodesic seedWater stations is what I really landed on for the mythology I wanted to tell. I want to help people understand that the first step in creating these large public spaces that Q3 is going to create, the first step is creating these geodesic seedWater stations. Geodesic domes, and inside them, they're going to be like places where people can learn, propagate plants, learn about water, groundwater recharge, and just learn about how to build communities and create their own business ecosystems. The actual story behind this is that the planet wants to raise its consciousness, but it needs to achieve hemisync through its cells. Like, the planet is not a perfect entity, it's an evolving being just like the rest of us. And in order for the planet to evolve, it needs to work on its individual cells. So you can think of those as its institutions. And the institutions are defined by us. So we're an extension of the planet, and our institutions are an extension of us. So if we can recode our institutions, if we could turn that into an interesting story, can that also have an impact on the planet? That's what we're going to be exploring with Hue 3 agency. Now, the next question, what type of spirituality do I want to explore to guide this story? And I'm going to be using the Kundalini and the chakras and the fact that it's about guidance. Again, that's why I listen to these Astral Doorway videos every day. I want to use them to create the lessons that inform how we're teaching people about business ecosystems. The planet needs to balance each institution to achieve that hemisync. And then finally, what aspect of consciousness do I want to explore to create a goal for the story? Now, I've listened to this Dorothy Shelton video about Christ consciousness for the past like 4 days as I've been going on walks, and it's really interesting, and I think I want to use it as kind of an analogy for what we're trying to do with these geodesic water stations. So that's where we're at.